people did the graphics. The question is this the emblem you want to have? This is the logo you want to have as the Ministry of Tourism in Israel? We all know what happened with the spies, right? So you are trying to give the hit, yeah, touring in Israel is great. Their land is horrible. That's what the spies came with, right? The spies came back, said the land is, we can't take it. Everything is so weird. The fruit that came, okay, the reason why they took the fruit as well, they came back to Bnei Israel. They said, this is the fruit of Eretz Israel. It's very, very big fruit. And the Gemara mentioned, they wanted to show them, people are huge, fruit are huge. This is weird. This is all mutations that we don't really want to deal with. You really want to go to a land that the fruit are so weird? Well, what does that mean about the actual land? The land will be difficult for us as well. So this is what we're trying to convey to people who want to come here to Israel. Come to Israel to, this is a very weird place. Maybe you don't really want to be there. That's what the spies came back with. Main people of the spies. That's number one we need to figure out. Number two, there's actually a factual mistake here. How many people carried the grapes? You're saying two. Why? You said so, right. So we said by so the Torah says they carried with a stick in two. That's the very free translation of what's going on. The Gemara in Masechet Sotah, and Rashi here on the spot comments on that, bring the Gemara, and it says, I don't understand. People, yes, you say they carried, they, plural, carried it with a stick. That means, what do you mean they? They, we have a general rule. Whenever we have a they, whenever we have plural, and it doesn't say how many, that's two people. That's a general rule in all of the Torah. So he says, they carried two. I know they, it's two. Why doesn't it need to say two again? Said the Gemara in Masechet Sotah, again, Rashi brings it. And he says, the reason is, it's not two people, but rather two sticks. And then there's various views. The Gemara and Rashi here said that there were two sticks, and that's the way to show it like this. They carried it with one stick from here, one stick from there, in both sides. So really, you had 8 people carrying it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 from each corner. Again, one stick went like that, one stick went like that, and in each area, they needed people to carry it. It was that heavy. And some rabbis, Rabbi Bechai, I think other rabbis say, no, there were 2 sticks, one here, one there, and there were 4 people carrying it. In any case, all of those examples say there were more than 2 people carrying the grapes. It was so big, it was not just 2 people. So the entire Ministry of Tourism logo is based on a mistake, as it seems. Very weird. What do we do with this? So it's not exactly a mistake, that's the truth. We'll start off with understanding potentially what we do is very interesting. When whenever we do a Dvar Torah, or definitely when we are looking into halacha, is we're trying to understand what was written. This is the same rule in when you do trying to interpret a law of the government. So you're trying to find that is what is written, but really that's what they meant. So there's a law. When I studied law, I got really upset about it because coming from a yeshiva background and a halacha background, I felt we're doing all these complications, trying to understand what exactly the government wanted to do when they meant that law. But if you look at the protocols of your law, you know exactly what they meant. But no, that you don't care about the protocols. There's a written word, and you're trying to do very sophisticated learnings into what exactly they meant, so it will support your claim. And I felt that's quite false. When we do that, trying to understand what God wanted, that makes sense because God had the infinite amount of options that what he meant, and we're just people. So when we try to understand it, when it comes to halacha, that could be, if it works with the words, it works with the subtext and everything else, that could work with what God wanted. But when we do it with people, when the easiest thing is, if you don't look at the protocols, just ask the people set in the committee what they meant, but you don't, right? Because you rely on your own interpretation. That I felt is a bit weird. But it's a funny thing, because that's what we do in the Torah. We're trying to understand a lot of what exactly the government meant. So like Alan mentioned, the easy way to understand, if we ignore the difficulty of understanding what does it mean two people carried the pole when we know they means two, just by the simple reading of the sentence, "Vayisau b'mot b'shnayim," yeah, two people carried it. And actually, it makes sense to say there's the two spies carried it, because we know that the division between the spies were 10 and 2. There's the 10 bad spies came with the bad reports, and the 2 spies, which were good, Yoshua and Caleb, came and said the good reports. Also, when Moshe gives the mission to the spies, he tells them, "V'itchazaktem u'lekachtem mipnei haaretz." You should get strong and take from the fruit of the land. Makes sense that the 2 good spies will follow Moshe's decree on this. Yeah, I'm going to take the fruit. So the 2 good spies are actually the ones who carry the fruit. So there is a connection. We can actually understand that like that. And actually, the Zohar, when you look through, trying to understand all the the later interpretation, I guess, and the Gemara, they go follow on the Gemara here to say that there's 8 or 4 people. But the Zohar, very interestingly enough, that usually doesn't stick to Pshat, doesn't stick to the strict words of the Torah, but goes into depth and understanding secrets and all that, takes this view that there are 2 people who carried it, and that is Yoshua and Caleb. But there are difficulties in that. As much as we see that that's the simple reading of it, there are difficulties because, as we said, the spies came, the bad spies, when they came with their report, they said, this is the fruit of the land, as we said, and they tried to show this is the fruit of the land. The people of the land are big and all that. That's not the reason why they took the fruit. It wasn't for a good cause. It wasn't because Moshe wanted to show how nice the fruit, but rather they wanted to show how weird the fruits are. And it says also, "Vayavo ad nachal Eshkol," they came to the river of Eshkol, "Vayichetu misham zemora," and they took the bunch, Eshkol Anavim, they took it all together, and then they took, this is the same pasuk, "Vayisau b'mot b'shnayim." They took it from Nachal Eshkol. That's not what Moshe wanted. He didn't want them to take fruit from the valley. The Mishnah in Masechet Bikurim said that when you bring the Bikurim, the first fruit on Shavuot, there's 2 rules. You have to bring them from the 7 Shivat Haminim, from 7 special growth of Israel, and you need to bring from the mountain. Taking fruit from the valley are not the good fruit. The valley fruit, nowadays, obviously with technology, they manage to grow everything anywhere, definitely in Israel. But over there in the halakha, the main halakha, when the times where things were more difficult, the fruits from the valley are not as good as the fruits from the mountains. If you want to bring fruits for Beit HaMikdash, for the Bikurim, for the first fruit, you have to bring the best fruit, and those are the ones from the mountain. And this is what Moshe tells the spies. He says, he sent them and he told them, go to the Negev, go to the valley. Negev is the valley. Valley Temetar, you go up the mountain. And when you're up the mountain, then he says, take the fruit from the mountain. So the fruit that were taken are actually the fruit from the valley, which is not the good fruit. At least that's what the spies tried to bring. So the non-good fruit. It was very good, regardless, but they tried to show to the Jewish people, this is not good. So there is a bit of a misunderstanding here, but the truth is, and the simplest answer is the way you understand the philosophy of the new country of Israel, or what they try to convey. The logo of the Ministry of Tourism was in the early 50s. As soon as Israel started in 1948, they were busy fighting wars for about a year and cleaning up. They came sitting down in the 50s to sort out a lot of things, legislations, laws, different officers, chief rabbis, anything else. So in the early 50s, when they tried to come up with all these ideas and logos, this is when this logo came up. And other things that happened besides the logo were trying different efforts from this new government, new country, to build up the confidence of the people of Israel. So many things were taken a little bit out of context in order to support some kind of ideology or method. For example, who here knows who Bar Kokhba is? Bar Kokhba. How many people know Bar Kokhba? Who was Bar Kokhba? Yeah?
He rebelled against
rebelling against the Romans. So, right, so he rebelled against the Romans. He is the reason why the Israel, the rest of the Jewish people were exiled from Israel. That Israel is not called. Sorry, that Israel, from that point onwards and for many years later, is called Palestine. The Romans came after Bar Kokhba led the rebellion, a very serious rebellion against the Romans, which was successful in the beginning, but Rabbi Akiva on his side. But because of that, everything else was erased, and we're kind of paying the price now with the fact that there's such a nation called Palestinians, because Israel's name was changed to Palestine as a punishment for to squash all the national connection to Israel. There's no more Israel now. Okay, Jews are exiled, and no Jews in Israel. This land anyway is called Palestine now. Jerusalem is not Jerusalem, is Ilia Capitolina. That's what. Sorry? Say something? Okay. All right.
Hello, can I ask you something? Did you say Bar Kokhba? I couldn't hear.
Bar Kokhba, yeah, Bar Kokhba.
Yeah. You're saying it so quickly, Rabbi, that I didn't hear.
Sorry. All right, Bar Kokhba, yeah. So
135 CE, yes.
So why am I mentioning this? Because as a boy growing up in Israel, Bar Kokhba is one of the biggest heroes that we learn about. We have songs about him. He's the main feature in Lag BaOmer. The reason is because if you look at Josephus and other books, Bar Kokhba on Lag BaOmer defeated and destroyed a whole legion of the Roman army, which is kind of unheard of. This is when he did his big break to be this hero that led the rebellion. Again, didn't last for too long, unfortunately. So Bar Kokhba is taken away from the context of this guy who's responsible for everything that we have nowadays, but rather he's the big hero. Strong. Okay? He led the little weak Jewish people to war. The reason is very simple, and so many other things which we can go in detail, but probably not on a breakfast on a Tuesday morning. The new state of Israel needed myths, needed something for the young youth to follow when they're attacked from all directions. Tiny little country. Remember that state? They were much smaller. The Arabs create constant threats. They will fight. They will throw them away. They needed to support some myths. So Bar Kokhba was a great myth. Strong guy. He defeated the Romans. Forget about what happened later, but he defeated the Romans. A big guy. The Talmud says that in order to get accepted to his army, the soldiers had to ride a horse and uproot a tree whilst riding, like a whole tree. So it was a great myth. So everyone had the songs, and that's what the young Israeli kids knew. The same idea happened with many things, especially when we're talking about this Ministry of Tourism. The angle was not to go with the understanding there was something bad, to try and give an understanding, a different understanding to the story of the Tanakh that we have. There's two spies came back with good fruit. Why? Because you know what the origin of the word tourism, by the way.
Yeah.
Latu, right? Latu, yes. Oh, it's funny because when I did this research, as much as I can get on the website, I checked that the word tour in English actually the most origin, back as you go into the origin, it is from Greek, turna, right? Something like that from Greek, and then went to Latin, ancient Greek. But again, I think it's very clear it's coming from our here, the Hebrew of tour. So Minister of Tourism. So let's go with tour. Okay, that's what we're trying to do. Two spies. They're bringing good fruit to the land of Israel. We can work out. I don't think that the committee worked it out, learned the Zohar, but they said, let's change the narrative. We have two people here, because we have anyway Yoshua and Caleb, they're the good spies. Okay, so we can go with that. It's a simple reading. We're not going to go into the Gemara because they didn't. They did use Tanakh. The early Israelis, those who still came from Europe, they did know their Tanakh very well. It's really unfortunate nowadays in Israel, they don't teach the non-religious people in Israel don't learn Tanakh as much as the old people knew. They knew Tanakh well. So it's right. We have this. We have two people. We know actually, what's from the Haftarah, that there are two spies who were sent and they were good spies. So we can go with it. Two good spies bringing good fruit after they toured Israel. So let's convey that message. Tourists coming in, they see the goodness of Israel, and that's what they bring out to show the rest of the world the good, nice fruit. that is the motive that there was pushed through. And for now, as like you saw, from all the different logos, and you mentioned before about Carmel Mizrahi, it is now what people know from what happened in the story. They just see that those two spies, it became a very positive sign. That's what it is. And I don't think it's a bad thing, because I think that there is a bit of a correction here to the original story. The original story, the idea was the spies come in, they take good fruit, and they show the people, and everyone's happy. So although it didn't really happen in reality, as we know, that's the main point in the Gemara, it didn't really happen, and the maybe not even two spies, maybe through the modern state of Israel, there is a correction to that the two spies are actually symbolizing something positive and some good message about Israel.
Want to ask anything?
Just a quick question.
Yeah.
Why we all make the same, they're not spies are Meraglim.
Yeah.
And that means the English and so on, and the Latin got better with the correct idea.
Yeah.
Or they were examining the Latin.
Yes, it's because in later in the Haftarah, that's a part of the Navi, that's the first time you have the word Meraglim. You're right. The Tanakh uses that term. The two real spy that went into Jericho to check what's going on, which were Kalev and Pinchas, they were called Meraglim. So yeah, but yes, you're right. They sent people. They didn't send Meraglim. They sent people to tour the land. Tourists, like we said, they sent tourists. Meraglim is spies, but the word Meraglim doesn't come up in the parasha. Yeah.
Names.
They don't have names, but we know from the Gemara that there were Kalev and there were Pinchas. Yoshua sent, this time he didn't want to make a mistake. So he sent the people he can trust. He knows Kalev is a good person. He was with him as a good spy. And Pinchas was the one who's zealous about everything to do with God. He sent them. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
What Stephen was saying here is that he believes that the reason why the Romans renovated this major thing is because the Jewish people they were crushed. They misled the Romans in that happened. Right. A couple of points around. There's more.
Can we understand what's been going on? Can't hear a word, Rabbi.
Sorry. Sorry. Okay. Thank you very much again to Rabbi Asi. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Question.
Couldn't hear you there, Stephen.
Just saying, just saying, book your places for 2 weeks' time. That's all.
What's in 2 weeks' time? That's the chief, isn't it?
Yeah, the chief. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
All
Very
right.
good.
We'll see you all. Have a good day, everyone. Bye bye.
Thanks, Stephen.
Bye bye.
Thank